What do you mean?
They sign the paperwork, you know, I don't know how, you know, often y'all have to do that or whatever. For reinstate to the program and stuff.
No, we got you in the, I did add you back to the program.
I'm just saying though. I mean,
Okay,
yeah,
just want to make
yeah.
sure.
Get away with it or whatever.
All right, here we go, here we go, here we go.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I just happened to, I didn't have to work the back door.
That's because I had to work today. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, so I am recording. All right, so let's talk about what's left.
What is like, should be done. It's, got a lab left?
No, we're going with the labs, but I need everybody's data for the labs.
Okay, yeah, that's.
So either I need to make a link. I know Monica handed me hers. I need to make a link so I get the data from yours, or either hand it in. I'm gonna actually just put it with this one. So I'm gonna put it with Lab 7, but what will happen is if you hand it to me, it's fine. If somebody's not on campus and wants to submit it, they can submit it through Lab 7. Then I'll break it down and give a grade for 7, already gave a grade for 8, 7, 9, and 10. Because it should be all of those. You did all of those the day you did your concrete mix design. So you did 7. You did 9, which is a unit weight. 10 will be basically the information where we did the calculations last Thursday. So whatever your break load was. So for example, I wish I had a scan in of this book. For example, page 251, it says calculation. What was the max load? What was the surface area, and then what was your PSI? And we only tested them either at day 7 or day 14, so we don't have anything else. That's all I need for 10, which is what you did last Thursday. And then if it didn't meet the requirements, why do you think that happened? So surface area would have been the 2 power, which were 2 inches. So I'll put it in here for Lab 7. I'm gonna write Lab 7. This will be a combination. So that would be 7. Yeah, I mean, you can hand it to me if you want to, and so that would be 7 through 9, 10, and 11.
11?
Mm-hmm. You did an air content. Y'all did an air. Somebody in your group did it. Yeah, or just email it or attach it to Lab 7 under Lab Experiments. Basically, I need the calculations. So that'll complete, and then what I'll do is I'll break them down in the grade center, because I have a grade center for, I have I have them broken down like 8, 9, 10, and 11 in the grade center. I may have 12, but we didn't actually do 12. So basically, the other day, we actually tested them. You can actually, I'd say, just kind of use the lower of the two would be fine. Because I think we didn't stop it, and it should have stopped it on its own, but it didn't. So Mike says he's done, so I'm about there. You're,
Take a 0 on that last level.
you got that. You don't want to take a 0 in your labs because they're broken down into several different labs. Okay, there's yours. I got Monica's.
You got mine, you're on this guess.
Did you give it to me?
I told you last week, remember? I showed you it. I'll show you again if you want.
Yeah. Can you pull it out? 'Cause that's all I got left to do, and then we're gonna back up to chapter 3. I know I looked at some of your stuff. So I'm actually made the last, so I'm still missing some of the, I'm still missing the take-home test. Monica gave me hers, Dylan came by and gave me his today from chapter 4, which is that concrete mix design.
I uploaded mine, you didn't get it?
Yeah, I got
I'm
yours.
not taking a 0 on that.
I got yours.
There
I got yours, I know.
Ooh, hey, oh.
Okay, that's your 9. You do your mixing, yeah, that's what I want.
And I did the test yesterday.
You uploaded it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I already gave her all my stuff, I don't even have it. What'd you get? Oh. You can always hire them, because you get about it when they're gone.
So I tried to make where you don't have to come on campus,
Look, I said, I'm going to do it 80.
that you don't have to come on campus for your last Tuesday of class.
But I got worried when she was like, well, this way I have one. She goes, oh, no, I gotta see it. Oh, and I'm not taking final, no, I'm sure. Are you taking yours? Right, so even with a 0 and I still have a 90, a 93, like a 93.4, which is an A, so if an A is an A, there's no point. Also, I want to be the best I can be.
Take a 0 with it. That's all.
All right, so I went ahead and I've already looked at module 3 questions. So I've already put grades in for the estimating questions for chapter 3. Everything looked good. Just make sure, because the last test is online. I'll go ahead and make it available today.
Is it one of the ones that have to be completed in one sitting? Like how the last one you let us save and then come back to it?
No, this one you can. So it says there is no time limit and you do not have to complete it in one sitting. It can be saved and we'll be able to return to the test later to complete. So you can't see it because I got it hid from you. But no, you don't have to complete it in one
The reason
sitting.
why I asked is because it's easier for me, because I have a child to go ahead and print it out and then.
Yeah, so for that particular one, however I had it last year, I left it this year. So there's 10 questions. What I want to tell you is a lot of them are multiple choice. Okay, so look at the notes. It says there's no time limit. You don't have to complete it in one sitting. It can be saved and you'll be able to return to it. Everybody did great on the homework, so I'm gonna go ahead and edit the test option so you can see it. Make it available. I'm gonna make an announcement.
What's it on now?
Chapter 3. You can you'll be able to open it up once I well, you don't.
The only way I'm gonna catch up is if we run out of time. That's why I'm back.
Okay, so you can see it now. So if I wanted to go in and look at it, I can.
When's it due?
By next Tuesday at 4, by the end of the class.
Tuesday.
So you don't have to come to class to do this. I want to talk about question 2 and I want to talk about question 3 because that wasn't one of the homework problems that I gave you. And we'll make sure that you can read the charts. And then question 3 is similar. Yours might be different because I've got them in, like, they'll, depends on whose they are, they'll go in different order. So my question 2 might not be your question 2. I mean, you can open it up yourselves now. It's not gonna ding you for opening it up and looking at it.
You can see the whole thing?
Yeah, you can see the whole thing. I mean, you can open it up and look at it now. Just make sure you don't hit save and submit. You can hit save your answers or just close the window and wait till when you're done to hit save and submit. So you'll be able to see everything. That'll be the last, I'm trying to keep y'all from not having to come in Thursday or Tuesday. You can do this.
So we don't have to come in Thursday?
No, there's no sense to. You get this stuff done, you get your lab submitted, then I'm okay with it because I'm not going to start anything new. The main objective of this class was concrete. If I would look at, and I did not make the syllabi, and I did not make the course objectives, but I'm gonna. Okay. So this is what you should have gotten by the end of this class. So we're going to talk about concrete and asphalt. So I'm going to talk about asphalt today. Mixes and their strengths. Manufacturing concrete and the steps. So we did all that. All the laboratory experience experiments for concrete. And that's it. Basically, it's all about concrete. So we did all the labs for the actual aggregate. We did all the labs for the concrete that you would do at ACI. The only thing we could have done additional, because we don't do any asphalt testing because of the fumes. Typically we've done, been a field trip, but the fumes, all the community colleges in North Carolina that have this program took out asphalt testing. I mean, I still got some of that old stuff over there and I just don't want to let go of it yet. But with the fumes and ventilations, it went out of the program before I came on board. So it's been out of the program for a long time. Other community colleges don't have the access. And a lot of them don't even have the access to do your own concrete mix design. So they normally just do the Quick Creek or and let you practice with that. They don't even actually test to the extent we did on testing all the aggregate, mixing it. You got 2 or 3 times to practice testing. We did one day where we practiced or I showed you, then we did another day, which was just the group's individual. So I think based off that, I feel like I had taught everything that was part of this, which is ACI and the ASTMs for concrete. The only other thing could have been those blocks, concrete blocks that I had there, the ones that were in the lab over there. We would have had to soak them and then wade them in the water. That meant I would have to fill that water tub back up and try to hook something up. I thought, if you get through all the other stuff, that's not part of really a certification program. Now, I know some asked about what the charge of this was. Now, when you get, if you get certified in the field testing, which is that red book, you actually get 2 books, a red book and a white book, and the white book's ACI, but they're the same. DOT handles that. I'm just going to pull it up. This is under the material and test unit. So here are grades. I'm looking, when I'm looking at this, I'm looking at people's grades. So they put their grades here. So let's look at somebody's grades from Raleigh. So I don't see anybody that failed. So unless you're just don't want to get it, you're not, especially people like you guys. So there's actually a mixed design school as well, kind of like what you guys did, but you'd have to be working at a concrete plant to kind of do some of that. So it's got, I wanted to look at, I think it's about 250.
Let's say classification goes in June.
So it's usually a 3-day class, and this is your concrete certification school. It's usually a 3-day class. And so here's kind of what they do. They'll kind of tell you what you need to do. I did a self-study. I wanna think it was a couple of $100 at the most. And usually where you work at is going to. And there's one of the guides. So I think this is part of that red book that I just gave, that I had loaded in there that you could find online. Yep. So this was available online. So
Test.
that, yeah, the materials and
Okay.
tests, I put it in, I just put it in there for you guys. Like I said, I just wanted to tell you that, kind of touching base on the syllabi, saying, here's what we were supposed to cover. I felt like we've covered it. I feel like you guys would be ready to go test if you needed to and would pass with flying colors. So there's lots of different certifications that you could get. I'm glad that I actually taught y'all the mixed design, because I felt like that's really important to kind of understand the properties. So going from there. All right, let's talk about suggestive thickness of asphalt. Let me see if I can pull up. Bad thing about this textbook, it doesn't put the charts. So I'm previewing the test. This is based off problem 12 in your textbook on page 86. So this is chapter 3, page 86. I'm going to kind of write something up. I don't know that we went over this either. Make sure when you're converting, most of them are multiple choice, but there are some that you're going to have to fill it in. So, I can only think of certain answers. I don't tell you exactly.
Not trying to trick us.
No, I'm not trying to trick you, and I try to put like three different ways that you could answer it, or 4 different ways you can answer it. So let me start with one real quick, because you didn't work problem 25 at all. I had you work, I think, 15, 16, 22, and 20, 21 and 22, if I'm pretty correct on those. Let's look at one like problem 25, because that's similar to question 1. Now, the formula is going to come from, does that formula look familiar, or do some of those things look familiar? Anybody remember chapter 2?
25.
Yeah, but now we're going to add one more component to it. Let me do this. I'm just going to pull up a whiteboard.
And time to.
So it wants you to calculate the compacted tons per hour of asphalt concrete. And that's what they call this, is asphalt concrete. I just normally would call it asphalt, but it's called the technical word is asphalt concrete. This is what happens. What's combined in these two? What do you have in here? You got aggregate, you got the asphalt, the liquid asphalt. There's actually sand in there. What they did is to be able to test the cores, they had to burn all of the aggregate away from this and test the aggregate separate. They don't go to, you think they'd go to a bar site and just say, a lot of times they have certain sites that they approve. They burnt all the aggregate away to test for the aggregate separately, and then once they did, they actually made this is part of what was left over, and they did a peer screen. So you just know how hot that is and how white called, has to have proper ventilation and all that, because they're burning all of that off. The aggregate, so that they can test that aggregate, do a sieve analysis on that aggregate, test the aggregate that was used in that. I've been in a subdivision that was a new subdivision. It's off Chickafoot Road out that way, and it looked horrible. Holes all in the road, cracking. It was new. They were just putting houses in. So when they went out there, DOT got involved, and typically for them to take a road over, you'll have to have some cores sent into them, or have your lab send them in. They didn't do the correct thickness. That was the main thing, but it looked horrible. I mean, really bad. I've never seen anything like it. A brand new subdivision, and the road was just cracking. And there wasn't even a lot of traffic on it yet, because they were just building the houses. So once they do the cores, and the lab at DOT only does major highway ones. So if you were gonna do a subdivision, usually your private ones are gonna do the asphalt. And there's only a few of the private companies that have that asphalt because of ventilation. I was hoping last year we were gonna, first time I would have went to Barn Hills. And we'd set it up, do a field trip last year to go to Barn Hill and go to their asphalt plant. Because normally we go to a concrete plant. We've been to concrete plant a couple times. We've been to DOT, went to all, the labs, but had not went to the asphalt. And there's only 2 asphalt paving places in Fayetteville. One's Highland Paving and the other one's Barn Hill. All right, so number 25. I've got a 4-foot wide roller. Now you can use mixed units. I think this is the only formula that you can use the mixed units. That's why you have that 16.3. All right, roller speed. Is 3 miles per hour. Thickness, 3 inches. And our density we want to achieve would be 147. Okay. Let's see. And passes are going to be 5 passes. And what kind of conditions are average? I'm gonna move this. Okay. I'm gonna look back at chapter 2 on the compacted yards per hour.
Oh, Miss Kathy, you're not sharing your screen.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm glad you said that. I'm doing that. Oh, so y'all couldn't even see the test up there either, huh? So do you see the test now, right? Okay. See my white screen. So this is identical to problem 25. On the notes. Set them on my. And I might have had this in the grade center, but it was under maybe like an activity grade where we might have worked it in class, just so I'd make sure when you got home you knew how to work it. All right, so I've got to figure out, I want to figure out first my cubic yards per hour. So that formula is back chapter 2, which is page
629.
29. Okay. So it's your width times speed times lift. So this is my lift. That's my speed. That's the width of the roller. 16.3 is a constant. That's to convert mixed units over your number of passes. So that would be my pass. So W would be 4.5. Speed is 3. Don't have to worry about units. 3 inches times 16.3 divided by number of passes, which would be 5. You should get roughly something like 132.03. Okay. Okay. And when it gives you that, the answer will be in cubic yards per hour. Okay. Now, that would be if he's running at 100% of the time for the whole hour, didn't take a break, everything worked perfect, there wasn't any errors. Well, that's not really going to be the case. So you have 3 choices to either would be like a modifier. Can you see that? Do you want to look at that line?
That's all right. I'll check it.
So you have a difference of excellent, which would be 90% of that. Average would be 83%, or poor, which is 75%. So if I want to get so I've got cubic yards per hour. So I'm going to stay with what I have right now for just a minute. So 132.03. Okay, and average is 83%. So I'm gonna take 132.03. Multiply that by 0.83, what do you get?
109.59.
59?
Yes.
Okay. Now we're not through yet, because we're cubic yards per hour, and it wants to know compacted tons per hour of asphalt. And we have to factor in what our density is. So if that's in cubic yards, so 1 ton is 2,000 pounds.
Yes.
Okay. So right now, this is in cubic yards per hour. If I want to put it in cubic feet per hour,
Times by 27.
So I'm going to say 109.59 times 27. That's cubic. This is in cubic yards. I'm trying to put my density is what? 147.6.
Yes.
That cubic feet,
Pound cubic.
pounds per cubic foot. I think it wants the answer in make sure I got all my units correct. Pounds per ton. So then that would cancel, that would cancel, that would cancel, and I'd be left with tons. Sorry. So what'd you get for your answer if you crunch that?
218.37 tons.
Okay, so let me look at that and see that particular problem, what answers that I put to like a decimal place for that one. So I probably would say if you put in 218.4, that one is not a multiple choice one. I'm just gonna pull up the test. I can't pull it up there because you can't see all the answers. I'm gonna pull up.
They usually say how many decimals, they don't say how many.
I know I
decimals.
didn't on that one, probably because I put probably 5 different ways you could put it in. I probably put at least 3, so I want to see what I put in there so I can tell you. That's pretty simple, ain't it? Not bad, that's what you do. Y'all done your environment, or this is an easy peasy.
Once the fire, don't matter what's thrown on it. Can't get
Like I
behind.
said, I'm recording this so you can go back and look at it if you need to. And I'm giving you time off from being sitting in here in class. But if you want to come in and sit in class and do it, you by all means you can. I'm gonna be here one way or the other. Tuesday, I'll be here Tuesday. I'm just trying to let y'all kind of wind it down. Okay, so I put in to 1 decimal place. So let's say the example was 1, for this particular one, I put, let's say 100.1. I might put in 100.11. I put in another one to 3 decimal places, and then I put 1 in just in case you round it up somewhere. I would try to keep it all out. So I put in 4 answers, but if I can see you were close to it, I can go back in and override it, but you need to go ahead and get it in, because I'll be, by 4 o'clock that day, I'm gonna be going through and looking at it. So that particular one, I put in 4 different answers for it. So just make sure to look at the percentage, whether it's average, poor, or excellent, and make sure to factor that in before you actually convert it over to tons. So that'll be the formula you use. Make sure you look at your conditions, because we got 3 conditions. What would be poor? What would you use if it was poor? What was his excellent?
90%.
90. Okay. Y'all are good. All right, so let's look at so that's question 1. Let's talk about question 2. There's a couple places on 2, something like 2 that we need to look at, but I'm going to talk about the actual textbook. So it's using charts. And there is just a suggested thickness. Those charts are on page 65 and 66 of your textbook, table 3.1. These are suggestive pavement thicknesses for parking area and driveways. So there isn't a standard thickness for pavement. However, the Asphalt Institute has published a general guideline. And these are just for parking area and driveways. So I'm going to throw something in for the ones that are taking subdivision planning. And when I had you look at DOT for pavement design, and it talks about what type of soil it was, how much asphalt or how much aggregate base you would need. Does anybody remember what some of the thicknesses of the asphalt would need to be in like a subdivision? So the most typical ones are 1.5 to 2 inches, just depending on what you use for your, you could use an aggregate base. And this is for just a general subdivision, like one that's gonna have low flow traffic, that's, ones that either a civil engineer or a surveyor can design a subdivision for the roads and the drainage. But the thickness typically for the asphalt is 1.5 to 2 inches. And a lot of times they'll require 2 inches depending on what you use for your base and what type of natural soil is underneath all that. But for parkings and driveways, they have some suggested ones. So let's look at maybe problem 12. Says, what's the suggestive pavement thickness for a full depth asphalt concrete driveway if the in situ soil are non-plastic clayey loam? What's in situ? I know y'all had that on the test before, and everybody sitting in this room has had that class. So I know they've seen in situ. Y'all remember what in situ meant? I think it was like the extra credit for our Souls and Foundation test, which is like in situ. In place. Like in place, in the natural state is what it means. So like in the natural state. And then you actually can understand, because you've had souls, if something is gravelly or sand, if it was a clay, a clayey soil but it's not plastic, or if it's something that is plastic. And what's plastic mean? Remember? So I had y'all go dig your own soil up. I told you to dig down and get something a little lower, to where the plastic kind of reminds you of like clay, like molten clay, or that we did. I think I told you to dig down the first inch or two, a couple of inches, and you got some gravelly like sand, and then I had you dig down even farther to get clay, something that had where it stuck together with you, so you knew it had some clay. So this would be like in situ. So I'm looking at, I want to look at, it's going to be a concrete driveway, asphalt concrete driveway. And then there's a couple of other things. So for driveways, you have pavement thickness for driveways. Passenger cars would be the top one. The bottom one would be parking area, would be like parking for cars. And then the next page would be thickness for parking areas for heavy truck. So we've got to look at a couple of things. So it says full, and I don't want y'all to get, it says full depth asphalt concrete driveway, and it's got a non-plastic clayey loam. 65. So I'm reading the problem 12, what it's asking for. So full depth asphalt concrete, you have, I'm going to be looking at the first chart, and you have one for full depth asphalt concrete, The second one in the column is asphalt concrete surface. The third column is plant mix surface using liquid asphalt. And then the last one would be asphalt surface treatment. So it said full depth asphalt concrete. So I'm looking in the very first column, and the asphalt surface needs to be 1 inch. Now, don't stop there because I need to know what the base needs to be, like underneath the asphalt. So I need to know what that depth needs to be. So what would you say that needs to be? At the same line, what should the depth be? So there's going to be 2 answers for this one. So it's average clay, non-plastic. So I'm going to be looking at full depth.
So it should be 1 inch and then 3 to 4 inches.
That's correct. So that's what you would give me. So that would be something example like 12. So it would be 1 inch of asphalt concrete surface and 3 to 4 of your asphalt concrete base. Let's look at 23. So 23 is like, what's the suggestive thickness for asphalt concrete surface parking area for heavy trucks on a gravelly or sandy, well-drained soil? So for that, we want to look on page 66. So it's full depth, same answer. Asphalt concrete surface parking. Asphalt concrete surface, no, so it wouldn't be full depth, so it's going to be the second column because it says it's asphalt concrete surface parking for heavy trucks, and I'm going to be looking at sandy, which is the first column. So what would your what would you get?
4.5 inches.
4.5 would be your inches, and what would be your, would it be like a crushed rock base? And what would your crushed rock base need to be?
0 to 4 inches.
0 to 4. You may get questions on how to read that. So, of course, you're going to have something, and this looks like it's a parking. So just make sure you use the right chart, and if there is, says there could be multiple answers, there is multiple answers, because you're going to need to give me 2 things out of this one. So just make sure to look at what I'm asking for. Like look at make sure it matches up. Let's take a quick break, and my last thing that I'll go over is these cores, because you're gonna have to put these in. And this time I said put it to the keep it to your correct. It should be significant figures, not insignificant.
Oh, I like, yeah, we like that.
So it's supposed to be significant figures, which 2, like 1 decimal place would be those. This is going to be kind of like problem 17. So once I finish with that, you guys will, I think, have everything you need because these are just like the ones that you did in your homework that I've graded. And these are multiple choice, so it should be pretty easy for that, for you to get the answers for the others, because they are multiple choice. And I am trying to trick you on one of these true false questions, so make sure to read, because I did say specifically something even before I saw that one, my question.
That's for everybody.
You'd really be messed up.
I don't think I need this anymore.
You don't.
Thank you for the.
You're welcome. Yeah, my other one's that fall apart.
I wouldn't let my child touch it. Every time he got near it, I'd slap his hand.
What happened is I asked them to send me the books, the publisher, since we use it, they'll send them to me.
Yeah.
And my other one I've had for, well, we've been through 2 books, so this will be I've had 2 books since I've been here. They have changed it. Surveying book, they've changed it like 4 times in 2 years, but the other ones, they have not.
My
So.
zero paperwork.
That's your 0 paperwork.
Zero paperwork.
I'm putting it in the
Better
folder.
late than never, right? So with the project management class, if I finished putting in what you guys were working on yesterday, and what else do I have to do?
That's it.
Okay.
Do I don't think I put a write-up, did I? I think I took it off. I'll have to look at that class. I figured everybody would probably be through possibly Wednesday. Let me make sure I don't have anything. I used to have a write-up, and I don't know if I took it off this year since y'all are working really hard on it.
Oh wait, you might have actually put one in there. We have to write a paper,
Where is it at?
in the grade book.
Where?
I found it under.
Oh,
my
in the
grades.
grade book?
Yeah.
But I may have it hidden.
It says, oh wait. No, actually, I did it. I've already submitted mine. Yeah, you did.
I did.
Assignment instructions, write a 1-page summary on what you have learned using Microsoft Project and how you think this can be used in the civil engineering community.
I just didn't put a due date.
And I had a 0% overall match and save the time.
What?
I
Oh,
had a 0 overall percent.
okay. For like matching.
Yeah, so the safe assign pretty much detects plagiarism.
Okay, so
Mine came from the hub.
we will be done at 6 p.m. Wednesday.
Yeah, I actually submitted mine on the 19th of last one.
Oh, I hadn't even seen it then. I wonder if I got it hid. I may have it hid from them, so I hadn't seen it.
No, because I saw it.
You saw it, but I may not seen it. I may have it hid
Oh, okay.
from basically myself.
Just like the chapter 3, problem 25 that we just did, I'm pretty sure I handed you that. Like I gave you it when I gave you the,
Other stuff?
yeah.
Let's see if I got that one here. What happened is if something, I think I used it last year, but if I didn't, like Mr. Manus was taking out stuff that was different than what we used last year because.
Oh, it's under module 7, I just found it.
Yeah, it is. Full grade center. Let me make sure I can see it in my grade book. Yeah, I do. I can see it, that
Okay.
you got it. And then really the download, we don't have to.
I already did, I've submitted everything.
Yeah, I see it. I know if everybody turns their project in, I'll give them credit for it. Yeah, that would be it. So I probably need that.
Yeah, anything that was on there that it let me submit something, I didn't submit it.
So how did you find it if you saw it in the group, if you didn't put a due date? How did you find it? You just looked through to see where it was in there?
Yeah, so I just looked in the grade book to see all the assignments that didn't have grades, and then I searched for it through the assignments.
I'm gonna actually, it's in the project one. It's not statistical. It's just a one-page write-up. So how did you assign your people? The way we were doing it yesterday, or do you go do it one by one?
So I started doing it the way you did, but then nothing against you.
Yeah.
You were moving a little slower than me.
Mhm.
So I just went and started with the first page and just worked my way through. And what I
That's what
did was I
Paul was
actually
doing.
highlighted them. I don't know if I brought my papers with me.
That's what Paul was doing, and he was taking the actual, he was taking the actual.
I was color coding it as I was doing it
Yeah.
and as I was inserting it, and so this is what I assigned it to the people. Now, there is a couple that I wasn't sure how you wanted me to put it in, so what I did was I actually left it the letters that were there, like VF. I don't remember if it was one of them, but if it wasn't, that way I can easily go back in there and change it, but it's in there. That way I don't have to look over it. So, because it'll still let you assign it to a person that's not on the sheet. I don't know if you did that.
You just put it in and.
Yeah, like this one says DE. If you would have just put in DE, it would have said DE.
But it didn't have a unit price for
That is correct. So I just left it that way until we determined, because one of them, like what I thought it could have been, I wasn't sure because like one of the ones that had like 25 materials, we used like 6 or 7 different people, but then I was like, well, it could be this one, but then I was like, well, I'm not 100% sure, so I just left it.
I'm not gonna be that picky on that.
Okay.
I'm not gonna be that picky on
And I keep forgetting to save it to my flash drive, save it to my computer.
that. Have you uploaded it yet?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so, you're just waiting until see if we change something.
Yeah, to see if we changed one of the ones where I put it in, but I wasn't sure which one it was supposed to actually be. And to double check that my numbers are correct.
And we
Because your
have-
end date on your project was different than mine
Right,
by like 3 months, so I was like, ooh, I don't know if I did wrong, but.
were you listening? I know you were listening in when we were trying to, I actually, when mine was off, it was, I didn't have something linked together right.
So I'll have to just double check.
Yeah, because that.
What I'll have you do, like the last video that you make or whatever, I'll just have you scroll through at least once, so that way I can pause it and check
Well,
it.
the first day or the second day we did that too. One of those days I do have a video because I took and made sure that we all had the predecessors. That's the only thing I could think it may be.
100% sure.
Because I think Jim and Paul's was within a week of mine. I think we were all talking about that.
Yeah.
So it might be something's just not quite linked. is the
It might
only
not
I
be.
can think.
But then also, like, my days kept changing when I was doing it, so
Right,
I'm
you
gonna
go
have
back.
to go back through and check everything.
Yeah,
I did
maybe
save an original copy of, like, before I started inputting things, just in case that happened, but it's taking the time to go through and checking all of the dates.
Right, so Jim printed his out, so I have a hard copy of just the tasks, that
Yeah.
way I know, but mine were a little, well, the one I have now is his.
Yeah.
I had one that was that I started with from last year's, or the
Okay.
year before.
Gotcha.
I'm thinking it had to be something wasn't linked.
Yeah.
So you just look at the numbers, well, just the beginning of tomorrow's class is tell me to scroll up and you can look at them and compare and see if they're.
Okay. That works. Yeah, because I'm finished with Mr. Allen's part, so. I'm trying to get everything done so I have a little bit of time before classes
I
start.
mean, he saw me today, but I don't work today.
Last question. So core densities. So if they brought these in the laboratory and they already did their concrete mix and they figure out their core density is supposed to be 147.1, this is problem 17. I need to look and see what I put for that answer. I only put it to 1 decimal place, so if you don't do this from 1 decimal place, it's gonna count it wrong, and I'll have to go back in and manually override it, and then I don't want y'all freaking out because you made a 30 and don't know why you made a 30. So I'm trying to save y'all some grief on freaking out. So what would happen is they would probably do 3 cores and bring them in, and we want to compare them to the lab. So they would do 3 cores of the asphalt. They're going to bring them in. So this is 17. So they've got an A, a B, and a C. And it's determine the percentage of compaction if the laboratory density of the mix was supposed to be 147.1. So typically, these lab tests are already done at lab. So let's say if we went to Barn Hill, they'd have a lab where they've done some, typical densities, and that gives us something to compare it to. Same thing would be for soils, if they're wanting to do density on soils. Most of the time, when they're doing outside densities, they have what they call, and this would have been in the soils and foundations, but they actually carried the machine back to Raleigh before I even came on full time, because it was a nuke gauge, where they're getting, so it would actually, nuke gauge you could actually set it on there and it would get your density outside of asphalt, sand, whatever, but you have to have something to compare it to from the lab. But it has, and the main reason I hadn't tried or want to get another one is because it's radioactive.
Oh, is that why there was I was wondering why there was a sign like that. You never told us anything. I was like, oh, is she a bit of radiation?
No. So they carried it back, and even just to carry it back to Raleigh, you had to be trained. The person riding with you had to be trained. So Mr. Hayes took it. His wife went with him, had to be trained just in case there was an accident or a wreck to carry it back. Whereas if you went to work somewhere, you could learn how to use it in a matter of 2 hours. So to me, it's not worth because it's got radiation in it. It's not worth it. Like, they'll tell you to wear some type of protective vest. I just don't want it on. I'm glad they took it off campus because I don't want to be responsible for it. It was just having to be, because I saw I found the brochures and the equipment, found all that stuff. I'm thinking, well, I don't see anything here. So when I talked to him later on, he's like, yeah, we carried that thing back because of it having the radioactive, and has to be locked down when you travel. So we have had students bring it that work for, ECS, and they were using it for the day, and they brought it over and just demonstrated, like in the parking lot sat right on the pavement out there and demonstrated it for the students. But of course, if you're anywhere around it, and I know it's not much, but that's the main reason. I know y'all can learn, if you went to work somewhere, you could probably learn it. Now, DOT does not, they normally will have you do something else. They think it's too vague on the numbers, so typically they don't approve of it on their big state roads. All right, so last one. Determine the percentage of compaction for each of these. So we're gonna have 3 different compactions. So this is easy. So A would be 142.9. I should have gave y'all this problem. It's probably in the grade book. Second one, we just did it in class and I had them turn it in. 149.9, 147.1 times 100. So that, I'm gonna do A, B, and I'm just gonna do it right off to the side. And C. So what'd you get for A? Put the numbers in.
97.14.
So put it to 1, 97.1. Don't have to put a percent, so just put the number in, 97.1. Second one,
101.9.
okay. And third one. 97 what?
0.5.
Okay. So you won't have to put,
Is it a percent or is there like a unit?
no, I think I've got the percent actually, yeah, in there, so don't put the percent, just type in what A is, B is, and C, and just keep it to 1 decimal place.
Oh, okay, okay.
So, I mean, if you accidentally do it and it counts it wrong, I'll go back through and look at them, but I don't want, that's what I was saying, you see your grade when you finish and it's a 30, and it's because you put units or you kept it to 3 decimal and I didn't recognize it, I'll go in and correct it and give you credit for it, but I'll have to do it, it won't be right when you submit it. No. You can send me a note and say, well, I don't know why I did so bad. Can you go in and look at it? And I will. But I will look at them all before I finish turning in the grades. So I've got the due date next Tuesday by 4, because that'll be the end of the class, but I would say since I'm giving you this, you can work on this and attach your labs. If you're missing a lab or anything, that I'm not assigning anything else. So you want to come to class Thursday or Tuesday, I'll be here, but you're not required. I'm not going to require you to be on campus. Most of the time, because I'm asking, that's multiple choice. So if it's multiple choice, you don't have to worry about that, because if I ask him what it is, there's a multiple choice. Questions? Concerns? You're good? Alright,
I'll run for that.
I'm gonna leave my test. I'm gonna stop